Have you ever heard a story so mysterious, so captivating, that it stays with you forever? Today, we read diving into one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of the 20th century, the disappearance of Amelia Earhart. It's 1937. The world is on the brink of change, but one woman is already soaring above it all. Amelia Earhart isn't just a pilot. She's a global icon, a symbol of courage, and a pioneer for women everywhere. After becoming the first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic, she sets her sights on an even bigger challenge: to be the first to circumnavigate the globe at its widest point, the equator. This wasn't just a flight. It was the ultimate adventure. Her plane, a state-of-the-art Lockheed Model 10E Electra, was specially modified for this epic journey. It was essentially a flying fuel tank, designed to cover vast, unforgiving stretches of ocean. Her navigator, Fred Noonan, was one of the best in the business, a seasoned expert in celestial navigation, which was crucial for long-haul flights over water before the age of GPS. The journey began on May 21, 1937, from Oakland, California. They flew eastward, crossing the United States, then down to South America, across the Atlantic to Africa, over to India, and through Southeast Asia. For over a month, they hopped from continent to continent, covering more than 22,000 miles. Each successful leg of the journey was celebrated by an eager public, following their progress through newspaper headlines and radio broadcasts. Amelia was on top of the world, literally and figuratively. But the most dangerous part of the journey was still ahead. On July 2nd, they took off from Lae, New Guinea. Their destination was a tiny speck in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, Howland Island. This island is incredibly small, just 2 miles long and half a mile wide. Finding it after flying 2,556 miles over open ocean would be an incredible feat of navigation, a true test of Noonan's skill and Earhart's piloting. The U.S. Coast Guard cutter Itasca was stationed near Howland Island, tasked with guiding them in. The plan was for Earhart to use radio signals from the ship to home in on her target. As dawn broke on the day they were due to arrive, the Itasca began picking up radio transmissions from Earhart's Electra. Her voice, faint but clear, crackled through the static. The communication was fraught with problems. It seems Earhart could hear the Itasca, but the Itasca's crew could barely hear her. They tried to send Morse code, but she requested voice communication. The radio operators on the Itasca listened intently as Earhart reported her position. She said, "We must be on you, but cannot see you, but gas is running low. Have been unable to reach you by radio. We are flying at 1,000 feet. Her messages became more and more desperate. The Itasca sent up thick black smoke signals from its funnel, hoping she could spot them against the vast blue canvas of the sky and sea. But there was no sign of the Electra. The radio transmissions continued for a short while, her voice revealing growing concern. One of the last and most haunting messages heard was, "We are on the line 157,337. We will repeat this message. We will repeat this on 6,210 kilocycles." Wait, and then another transmission. "We are running on line north and south." After that, there was only silence. The Itasca crew waited, scanning the horizon, listening to the static-filled radio. But Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan had vanished. What followed was the most extensive and expensive search and rescue effort in American history at the time. The U.S. Navy and Coast Guard scoured 250,000 square miles of the Pacific Ocean. Planes flew countless sorties, ships crisscrossed the search area, but they found nothing. No wreckage, no oil slick, no life rafts. It was as if the Electra had simply been swallowed by the sea. After 16 days, the official search was called off. Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan were declared lost at sea. But the story doesn't end there. In fact, that's where the mystery truly begins, sparking decades of speculation, research, and countless theories. The most widely accepted theory is the simplest one, the crash and sink theory. This theory suggests that they simply ran out of fuel, missed Howland Island, and crashed into the vast Pacific Ocean. The Electra, heavy with its remaining fuel, would have sunk quickly, leaving no trace. Given the navigational challenges and the radio communication problems, it's a very plausible explanation. They were looking for a needle in a haystack and just couldn't find it in time. But then things get more interesting. Another prominent theory is the Gardner Island hypothesis, now known as Nikumaroro. This uninhabited atoll is about 350 nautical miles southeast of Howland Island. The International Group for Historic Aircraft Recovery, or TIAR, has championed this theory for years. They believe Earhart and Noonan, unable to find Howland, landed on Nikumaroro's flat coral reef during low tide. The evidence they've gathered is compelling. Shortwave radio listeners in places as far as Texas and Florida reported hearing faint, desperate distress calls for several nights after the disappearance, which they believe could have been Earhart trying to use the plane's radio as long as the engines could run to power it. Expeditions to the island have found artifacts that could potentially be linked to the castaways: fragments of a shoe, a jar of freckle cream from the 1930s, a sextant box, and even pieces of aluminum that could match the Electra. Most tantalizingly, a partial skeleton was discovered there in 1940. Initially dismissed, a modern re-examination of the bone measurements suggests they are consistent with a female of Earhart's height and ethnic origin. Could she have survived as a castaway for days, weeks, or even months? And then there are the more sensational theories. One claims that Earhart and Noonan were actually on a spy mission for the U.S. government, tasked with flying over Japanese-mandated islands in the Pacific to gather intelligence. In this version of events, they were captured by the Japanese, and their fate remains a state secret. Some stories even say they were executed, while others suggest they lived out their lives under assumed identities after being released. A photograph surfaced a few years ago that some claimed showed Earhart and Noonan in Japanese custody, but this has been largely debunked by experts who identified the photo as being from a book published years before her flight. Despite all the theories, the expeditions, and the analysis, we are left with no definitive answer. No one has found the plane. No one has found their remains beyond a shadow of a doubt. The ocean guards its secrets well. Amelia Earhart's disappearance has cemented her place in history not just as a pioneering aviator, but as the subject of an enduring enigma. Her final flight represents the ultimate unknown, a story of ambition, courage, and the harsh realities of pushing the limits of human exploration. She flew into the horizon and into legend. What do you think happened to Amelia Earhart? Do you believe the simple crash and sink theory? Or do you think the castaway story on Nikumaroro holds water? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. The mystery of her last journey continues to captivate us, a powerful reminder that some questions may never be answered. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into one of history's greatest mysteries, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next video. See you next time.